My name's Lee Santo. I'm a training manager with the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service, and I'm the Police Academy Coordinator for the Central Texas Police Academy. I'm here today to talk to you about a career path in law enforcement. Now, the first thing you need to remember, if you plan to have a career in law enforcement, number one, you're going to need to graduate high school. You need a high school diploma or a GED. The other thing I would tell you is, one, don't break the law. You need a clean criminal background. And two, don't do drugs, because that's specifically something that law enforcement agencies look at. Now, in order to be a peace officer in the state of Texas, you must be 21 years of age or 18 plus 2 years of active military service with better than a dishonorable discharge, or 60 hours of college from an accredited school, for example, Blinn Junior College. You need a clean criminal history. Again, you have to be in good physical condition. You have to have a drug screen. You also have to have a psychological exam before you're eligible to enter a licensing course for the state of Texas. So, how do I get there from the age of 18 and graduating high school? Here are your options. Again, you can do 2 years of military service. If you've been doing a certain number of college hours and may be able to enter community college and get enough hours to qualify to meet that 60-hour requirement to enter the police academy prior to being 21 years old. Or what we would advise you to do is continue your education and enroll in a community college like Blinn College. TEACS specifically has an agreement with Blinn College that the police academy is part of the 2-year Associate in Applied Science program. So if you enter Blinn College out of high school, the last semester of college for you, of your 2-year college experience, would be the police academy. And then at the end of the police academy, you pass that, you not only get your Associate in Applied Science degree, but you're eligible to take the state licensing exam to become a police officer. So, what are some other pathways to a career in law enforcement at the age of 18, having just graduated high school? Your options are telecommunications, which is dispatch. You would have to apply and get hired by a law enforcement agency in order to be eligible for that program. But that's a good foothold into law enforcement. Your other option would be to apply to be a county corrections officer. You can do that at your local county jails. You're eligible to do that when you're 18 and have a high school diploma. That would be another foothold into becoming a police officer or entering law enforcement. Some of your expected salary ranges for those jobs. The average in the Brazos Valley area for telecommunications officer or dispatch is the $35,000 to $40,000 range. That's a pretty good start right out of high school if you can get that job. Jailers or correction officers have an average salary of about $47,000 a year. So again, working your way up to being a peace officer. Peace officers in the area make anywhere from a starting pay of about $50,000 as a recruit to $80,000 as a tenured officer. So those are some of your career tracks to being in law enforcement. We would push you to get some more education. The more education you have, the more marketable you are. If you have any questions, we'll be available later to answer any of your questions about a career in law enforcement and entering any of the licensing courses offered by TEACS, the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Services.
Hello, I'm Joe Klinkoski, and I'm one of the instructors here at the TEACS Central Texas Police Academy. And today I'm going to go over some of the equipment that you are going to need when you attend the Basic Peace Officer course. This is equipment that you would have to provide prior to attending. So what I have here on the table here is an example of a police duty belt. That is required when you're in the Basic Peace Officer course. This duty belt is nylon, and they make some that are leather. Either one would work in the basic peace officer course. Typically when you buy a police duty belt, it comes in a combo. Some of them come in combos with the inner belt and the duty belt with keepers, and some you buy separate. So when you're researching these items, be sure to look at all your available options out there. We're going to work our way down the duty belt and talk about some of the items that are on here that are commonly used in law enforcement and that you would also need to provide for the police academy. The first is a magazine pouch. Okay, there are several styles of magazine pouches. The one on this particular belt is an open top, but they have some that snap close. As we move down the belt, we have a flashlight holster and flashlight. So when you're purchasing a flashlight for the police academy, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get a law enforcement style flashlight. Maglite would work, but you will need a flashlight. These attach to the belt in the holster. They're convenient, they're easy to keep on your person at all times. As we move further down, this is what's referred to as a flashlight ring. So if you do come to the police academy with a large Maglite or an older police flashlight, the SL20, they are commonly retained using this flashlight ring. As we move down here, we have keepers. So on our website it talks about a duty belt and keepers. The keeper is used to attach the duty belt to the inner belt, right? And this helps secure your duty belt on your person. As we continue on down the belt, we have a holster for an expandable baton. So this necessarily isn't required for you, because when you attend the Central Texas Police Academy, during training we will provide you with a holster for an expandable baton as well as an expandable baton. So it's more important for you to have the items I discussed previously than the holster and expandable baton. But if you choose to purchase one, make sure you do good research and find one that's reputable in the law enforcement community. As we move on down here, you will need a holster for your duty weapon. All right, so this particular holster is an example of a law enforcement holster from Safariland, and it does retain the handgun in the holster. That is the retention device. This one is open top with a thumb release to release the handgun from the holster. This particular holster will also accommodate a weapon light if you choose to have one, but it's not required in the police academy. Here is another example of a holster, and this one is also from Safariland, and it has a hood style retention device as well as a thumb retention device on it. So this would be another example of one that you could purchase. Just be sure and do your research, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask, because holsters are designed specifically for the handgun that you're using. And then as we move on down the belt, you will need a pair of handcuffs and a holster for the handcuffs, along with a handcuff key. We recommend in the Police Academy a pair of chained handcuffs. This is a pair of Smith & Wesson, but there are other reputable manufacturers out there such as Hyatt and Peerless. And a handcuff key. This style is appropriate. You just want to make sure that the handcuff key works with your particular set of handcuffs.
Howdy, I'm Lee Santo with the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service Central Texas Police Academy. I'm going to talk to you today about some of the firearms we use during the basic peace officer course, what you need to supply and what we'll supply if you don't have. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a handgun. This is an area where we receive a lot of questions about what is acceptable as a handgun for the police academy. First of all, if it's a known major manufacturer, it's probably going to be acceptable. I have some examples on the table that I'm going to show you. The first one here is a Smith & Wesson model M&P 9. All right, it's a 9mm caliber striker fired handgun. Okay, that would be an acceptable choice. You can see that it is a full-size duty weapon. That's what we recommend. This particular one has a 4-inch barrel, 4.5-inch barrel, and would be perfectly acceptable. Note that sometimes handguns come with 3 magazines, sometimes they only come with 2. You have to have 3 magazines, so make sure that the magazines, this is what loads it and makes it work, that you have the appropriate number. Another type of handgun along the same lines is a Glock. This is probably one of the most common handguns in law enforcement today. Again, perfectly acceptable. This particular one is in .40 caliber Smith & Wesson. That's an acceptable caliber. Other calibers like the Smith & Wesson in 9mm, 45 ACP, or even 357 SIG. Now, a third type of handgun here is, this is a SIG P320. And you notice the difference in it. It actually has a non-magnified optic on the top of it, which is also acceptable to have on a handgun. But again, all three of these handguns would be perfectly acceptable to carry in the police academy. Now, if I don't mention a brand or one that you own or are thinking about, please call and ask and see if it's acceptable. But again, major manufacturers, SIG, Glock, Smith & Wesson, there are others. So if you have a question about them, please ask. Also, just to reiterate, I know we went over equipment earlier, but you need to have a good police style duty holster, and you need to have one with retention devices. This one has several. This particular piece out here is a retention device that keeps someone's hand from coming over the hood. This hood holds it in place, and it has an ALS locking system. All right, those are for security while you're on patrol. All right, you have to provide a handgun. All right, other weapons that we use and train with in police academy, they're very common in law enforcement. These, if you don't have, we will provide while you're here at the academy. The first type is a shotgun. This is a pump action shotgun, right? Very common weapon issued in law enforcement. This particular brand is a Mossberg, perfectly acceptable if you have your own. Now, things that stand out as a police duty weapon as opposed to, say, a hunting weapon is this has a 20-inch barrel and an 8-round magazine tube. That's not common for hunting. This is a tactical or police style shotgun. If you have one that has an 18-inch barrel, say in a Remington or other brand, those are acceptable as well. We also accept semi-automatic shotguns, but again, tactical, shorter barrel, 18 to 20-inch barrel for police use is typically what you have. We like for you to have a sling on them. This particular one has a tactical 2-point sling on it. Also acceptable would be a standard sling that attaches front and rear to the shotgun. All right. And then the other weapon system we train on is a rifle or patrol carbine. This particular one is a 16-inch barreled Colt rifle. There are many brands of these. This is an AR-15 style rifle. This is a civilian law enforcement version. It's semi-automatic, right? It accepts detachable magazines. Again, we train on these. These are very common in law enforcement today. Most agencies are carrying some type of rifle like this. And again, we will provide this if you don't have one while you were here. Now, something to go along with that, you looked at earlier your equipment on your duty belt, you had magazine pouches for your handgun that carried your reload for your handgun. It would also be advisable to have a magazine pouch for your rifle so you can carry a spare magazine for your rifle. This, again, if you don't have one of these, we'll let you use one of ours while you're here. So those are some of the common weapon systems in law enforcement. Again, handguns. If you have a question, you have to provide a handgun. So if you have a question about those, please feel free to contact us and ask about them. The long guns we train with, we will supply if you don't have one.
Hello, I'm Joe Klinkowski with the Teague Central Texas Police Academy. These are some of the uniform items that you will be required to have during the Police Academy. What we provide here at Teague's is a uniform hat, a polo shirt, and a PT shirt. What you'll need to provide are a pair of khaki pants. The brand that we use are Dickies, item number 874. A pair of polishable boots, black in color, And you'll also need to provide dark navy blue running shorts with no logos on them, as well as a good pair of running shoes.